Seriously? All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor and executive director here, and things are just falling all over the place
They're
here.
falling apart
Falling
before
apart.
they're coming together.
That's how we do it here. We
That's
fall
right.
apart
That's
as community. Hey, this is Noel Wasaki, our community director here. And we're glad to be with you all on this Saturday evening. This is a community where for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there is one thing we don't do, and we're going to talk more about that tonight, but I want you all to shout it out with me, all four words on a count of three. 1, 2, 3. You got a little anxious there. Try to shout it out early.
They were
but
excited.
Yes,
they were
we
ready.
don't do shame.
It was great.
He's excited. Hey, before we get started, we don't do shame, but I got to do a call out here. Someone who drives a white Toyota RAV4 with the license plate sober, you're blocking the driveway of one of the neighbors, and we can't block the driveway. So whoever has the white Toyota RAV4 with license plate sober, just act like you're standing up to go get a cup of coffee, but actually move your vehicle. How's
Why don't
that?
a couple other people stand up and go grab coffee just so they don't feel uncomfortable?
And listen, while we're talking about that, I get as we grow, parking becomes more of a problem. We have our parking lot in the back. We do have street parking. We cannot block neighbors' driveways. They are going to start towing, and they're very serious about that. Safeway is a half block west. You can park at Safeway. It's an 89-second walk here because I've timed it. So it's really close. So if you're looking for parking, go to the Safeway.
89 seconds.
All right, Noel, take it over. What do we got coming up here?
Well, if it's your first night here, we're really glad you're here. Welcome. We have some welcome bags right outside this door here. They're in brown paper bag that say free on the front. It has a little bit about what we do here at Free Spiritual Community, a little bit about what Wagon Coffee does. There's some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee in there and just some free swag. So please grab one on the way out and just know that we're so glad that you're here. If you guys didn't know, we have about 27 recovery meetings going on in this very building throughout 3 to 4 rooms every week. It's a big deal. We're at, probably about 95% capacity, especially during Monday through Thursday. But anyway, if you are looking for a meeting in this space and you want to call this community your home or just kind of check it out a little bit more, on the flyer stand in this front entryway, we have these flyers that just let y'all know what kind of meetings we have going on. We have Al-Anon and AA, NA. We have all 12-step recovery. There's a free yoga class that's here every Monday from 6:15 to 7:15. It's for trauma. It's trauma-informed yoga. So there's a lot going on here. So grab a flyer just so you know what's kind of going on here at Free during the week and come check out some meetings. Lastly, there are a bunch of people walking around wearing home team shirts.
Blue
Home team shirts. They're the best kind of people. So if you are looking to get more plugged in to free and how can I be a part of this community and help out, Home Team is the place to be. So over the next couple weeks, is Carrie in here? Where's Carrie, our lead of Home Team? There's Carrie. Carrie, stand up and give a wave. You all give it up for Carrie. She's great. She's our Home Team lead. All the Christmas decorations. I mean, Home Team just does so much for us behind the scenes, making sure that y'all are greeted every week. So for the next couple weeks, there's going to be a blue balloon and a table. Carrie, Abby, Chase, some other Home Team leaders, they're going to be manning that table. And then on, it's March 18th. Is that right? Or is it 19th? March 18th, great. At 4 p.m. here at Free, we're going to be having a Home Team event. So over the next couple weeks, you can sign up for that, get on our email list. But then on March 18th, here at Free, 4 p.m., we will be kicking off our 5 p.m. service by then. So it'll be a little bit before that 5 p.m. service, but come get more involved and come be a part of our team. So thank you.
Thank you, Noelle. Speaking of the 5 p.m. service, so as you all know, as we're growing, I'm going to ask you if there's a seat in between you to scooch together so we can make room. Also, if you want, the service is streamed out in a cafe for anyone standing. If you want to sit on a couch, you can do that in a cafe and be part of the service. Or you can just sit on your neighbor's lap or sit on the floor, lay on the floor, take a nap, do it. Make yourself at home. You do you. The 5 p.m. service, so we're going to do 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. The 5 p.m. service kicks off March 11th, so in just a couple of weeks. 5 p.m. will be exact same as the 7 p.m., except the 5 p.m. service will not be live streamed. Just the 7 p.m. service will be live streamed. By the way, welcome to all of you online people who are joining us from your living rooms or sober living house or home, wherever you're at. We're glad you're part of this community. We're glad you're here. Speaking of Home Team, Austin, put your hand in the air like you just don't care. There's Austin. Austin filmed a letter to his addiction. Here's that letter. Maybe. We're just going to stand here and make it awkward. Tech team, should we come back to it after celebrations? Come back to it. Okay, we're going to come back to it, y'all. So awesome. We're going to come back to you, dude. We're not going to forget about you. Listen, the way we start here in this community is we start with celebrations. We lift up the good. We celebrate together. So whether that's a sobriety birthday for you, a belly button birthday, a new home, a new job, a new baby, whatever the new thing in life is, we want to celebrate that together, and we believe God joins with us in the celebration. So we take 3 minutes for this. Very important part of our service. If you're online, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, just drop it in the comments, and we want to celebrate with you there as well. Matt, do you have a mic? Matt has a mic. Darren's going to get the other mic. They'll pass around a mic. Just raise up your hand. We take 3 minutes, so this 3 minutes is yours. Let's do it.
I'm Tisha, I'm an alcoholic, and today I'm celebrating 8 months.
8 months, Tisha.
Hi, my name is Christine, and yesterday I was able to quit my job at IHOP and going full-time into Serenity Stables as my equine life and recovery coaching. It's been a dream, and I'm so pleased to be doing that. Also, I don't want to serve anymore. Also, today is my actual belly button birthday. I'm 48 years young.
Woo! Woo! Happy birthday, Christine.
Hi, my name's Lolita, and my dad's celebrating 88 days sober.
88 days sober, Red.
My name is Stephanie. I'm an alcoholic, and I just celebrated 70 days, and my twin sister Stacy just celebrated 18 months.
All right.
Thanks, Darren.
My name is Bobby, and I am 48 days clean and sober off meth today, and I have a friend, his first time, Alex, with us tonight.
Welcome, Alex.
My name's Kate, and I'm an addict, and I had 26 months yesterday.
All right.
My name's Derek. I had 3 years yesterday, and
Way to go, D.
it would not be without this place that I would not be standing here today. So very grateful for you guys in 3.
Congrats, brother.
Hi guys, I'm Abby, and I would like to celebrate my stepdad, LA. He is 8 days sober today.
All right.
Talia, alcoholic. Today I'm celebrating 90 days sober.
All right, Talia.
I'm Kaylin. I'm an addict. And my fiance Josh just celebrated 6 months.
Boom. Way to go, Josh.
My name's Doug, and I'm an alcoholic, and I just celebrated 9 months yesterday.
All right, dude. Congratulations.
Hello, my name's Jill, and I'm an alcoholic as well. And I celebrated 5 months yesterday.
All right.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm an alcoholic. My dad celebrated 37 years yesterday.
Right, way to go, Dad. One more. Come on. We
Hello,
can do
my
this.
name is Danita, and I have 142 days clean and sober.
You go. All right, Danita. We got one more. We got one more. Do it. I'll take
Felicia, and
that.
I'm celebrating a month today.
Way to go. Yes, when you get done with that mic, it's got to go there for Hallie to sing later. Hallie and Chris.
Deal.
No, that one we'll put on the couch. We're color-coded around here. Thank you, Darren. Tech team
Hi, guys.
keeps us
Good
on our
evening.
toes. Tammy Canada, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me for the celebrations.
We have much to celebrate too.
We do.
We're
We
finally
do.
wrapping up a week of 3 birthday celebrations. Thank
3
God.
birthdays all in 1 week. We have 4 kids. 3 of them had birthdays all in 1
That's
week.
right.
Come on, there's too many jokes to be made there. We ain't gonna do it. We're just gonna celebrate. Let's do this.
Like start blushing. Okay.
She is blushing.
John Wagner.
Sobriety's been good to us.
He
All right.
he started free in the backyard with us
Yes.
almost 5 years ago. So hi John, glad you're here. And he says bought my first home.
Way to go, John. We'll celebrate that with you, dude.
I'm guessing in Oregon, yeah?
Yeah, I think he's in Oregon. Congratulations, man. All right, Jim says, last week, sister-in-law Janet visited the emergency room for potential heart issues. This week, she went in for a breast biopsy. Both situations turned out great. Janet is okay, and God is good. We'll celebrate that with you, Jim.
And Jennifer says, I'll be celebrating my 70th belly button birthday on Thursday.
Way to go, Jen. Happy
Yikes.
birthday. Stephanie says, celebrating that I've had power nonstop since the ice storm. People are still on generators. My corner of my street was the only spot in town that didn't lose power. I prayed hard. God showed up. Stephanie's up in Michigan. So, hey, glad you're doing all right, Stephanie. We're celebrating that with you. Power in the midst of the storm.
Hope to see you soon. I think you're heading this way too.
Mm-hmm.
And final one this evening. Stacy says, I'm Stacy, and I just celebrated 18 months, and I am 542 days AF. My twin is there with you in person. All right.
All right. We're glad the
Stacey.
twin is here. Thank you for joining me up here, Mrs. Canada. All right, y'all. Let's get to this. Let's keep the celebrations going with the letter to the addiction from Austin.
I'm Austin, and my sobriety date is June 2nd, 2022, and this is a letter to my addiction. Dear addiction, for so many years, I was terrified of living a life without your familiar embrace. In the beginning, if I was cold, you brought me warmth. If I was scared or lonely, you brought me peace, and I yearned to live within your grasp. You whispered promises in my ear of a life free of pain and sadness. As time went on, that peace and that warmth slipped away, and in a panic, I chased after it, leaving behind pieces of myself, the parts that make me who I am. When I finally caught you, I was able to see that your warmth was nothing but the cold ashes of a fire long burnt out, and your peace was just the solitude of oblivion. I didn't just lose myself, I lost my friends, my hobbies, my interests, and I betrayed everyone who cared about me, all for the lies you told me. You convinced me to lie, to steal, and abandon people I held the most dear. For so long, I hated you. I hated you for all of the darkness and despair you wrapped me in. Without that darkness, though, I don't know if I ever would have found my way into the light. Without that despair, I could never appreciate the fulfillment that I've found in sobriety. Today, I don't hate you. Today, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because through you, I found a loving God who cares for me more than I thought possible. Grateful because today I know what it means to fight for what I want with everything I have. Dear addiction, thank you. Thank you for helping me to understand that with God on my side, I'm not weak. That with God on my side, anything is possible. Sincerely and without shame, Austin.
Austin! Sincerely and without shame. I love how you ended that, dude. All right, listen, y'all. We're in this third week of our What We Stand For 4-week series. There's what we stand for. We start with authenticity, then move to recovery. This week it's no shame, and next week, new life. So tonight, let's talk about why we don't do shame. But here's a little video for you. We created Free because someone had to stand for the addicts and loved ones of addicts who were suffering in silence, for the spiritual refugees who didn't have a place of belonging. A traditional church model doesn't create space for the conversations we know have to be had. Free is standing with those who are barely hanging on, who are longing for something new. Free is bridging the gap between spirituality and recovery. In this place, God meets us exactly where we are. This is what we stand for. So it was several years ago, Tammy and I were at a Rockies game. And this was at a point early in our marriage. It was also a time in my life where I was very active in my addiction, an active alcoholic. And it was a work event for Tammy. This party was put on by her work. So many of her colleagues, some of them friends, and it was open bar, of course. So I had several drinks at the Rockies game. Prior to the game starting, I had several drinks because that's the way I rolled. And by the time the game was over and we were walking out of Coors Field, I can tell you that I was likely stumbling, likely slurring my words. I can also tell you that that night, Tammy and I, we were in a conflict about something. I don't remember what it was. And probably related to my behavior, if I'm honest. And that night, in that moment, I wasn't kind. My words weren't kind. My actions weren't kind. I remember some of the words I used towards her that night. And I'll never forget, as we were walking out of Coors Field in this big crowd of people, this complete stranger in front of us turns around and she puts her finger up and she looks Tammy square in the eyes and she says, "I just want you to know you deserve so much better than him." And y'all, I was already angry about something. And this made me even angrier. And my impulse was like, you don't know me. You don't know our relationship. You don't know our marriage. You don't know her. Why would you say that? But do you know what was really under all that anger? What was underneath all of that was this complete feeling of totally being alone. It was this moment where I hated myself. I was embarrassed. I felt full of so much shame. And in this moment, it was like it came to me, man, our marriage, we started on a good path. And then I strayed from that path and wandered towards this path of addiction. And see, it took me some years, it took some time before I got back to a good path. It took some time. It wasn't until I saw that I was actually worthy of recovery, that I was worthy of a different kind of life, that I really wasn't created to live in shame and addiction, and you weren't created for that either. And by the way, while we're talking about it, it's worth saying, you do know your partner your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your spouse, your significant other, your husband or wife, they never deserve your addiction. They never deserve the behavior that comes with your addiction. They never deserve your selfishness and self-centeredness. You know, addiction always had this way of driving me deeper into shame, and shame always had this way of driving me deeper into addiction. You know, it's interesting. Researchers asked 1,000 Americans what they wanted to avoid most. And they gave a whole host of feelings and emotions listed out. Anger, fear, guilt. But do you know what consistently came to the top for the 1,000 Americans? Shame. Yeah, that's the one we want to avoid most, isn't it? And this makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, most of us, we've experienced it. We've lived shame. We intuitively know that shame doesn't feel good. To live into that shame just creates a sense of hopelessness. And its starting place is always the same, and it's very simple. You are bad. You're bad. One expert in shame resilience theory says it this way: shame is an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Now, speaking of Rockies games, y'all do know you can have the most profound experiences at Rockies games, right? So last summer, I took Sayla, our 12-year-old daughter, to a Rockies game. And as we were leaving, as we were exiting Coors Field, this time, stone cold sober, because by this time I'm a sober man of faith. And we're walking out of the game, and she says to me, "Poppy, why is he holding that sign, and why does he keep yelling at people?" There was a dude on the street corner. You might have seen him. He's out there holding this sign that says, "Turn or burn. Unless you repent, you're going to burn in hell." And he's got his megaphone, his bullhorn, and he's yelling at people. He's yelling at people to change. He's yelling at people that God is against them. He's yelling at people that punishment is coming for them and they're going to burn if they don't change their ways. And so we get in the car, and Sayla and I start to have this conversation. And I said, "Listen, baby, there will always be people who will try to scare you into a relationship with God. And it's always built on the same system, this system called reward and punishment. If you're good enough and you've worked hard enough to get God on your side, then you're going to be rewarded after you take your last breath here on earth. You're going to be rewarded with all the blessings up in heaven and streets of gold and crowns and jewels on your crown. But the thing is, if you're bad and you don't work hard enough to get God on your side, then, well, when you die, you are going to burn forever and ever and ever." And then I said, "And some people will have the audacity to tell you this is some sort of good news." You see, but the starting place, it's always the same. The starting place is you're bad and judgment is coming for you. And listen, y'all, if fear is ever like causing you to strive towards a spiritual path, or if fear is the thing that is driving your relationship with God, I can tell you from experience, it will not be meaningful and it won't be lasting. You see, I can't tell you how many people have given up on this idea of church, and they say to me things like, "Man, I just can't get up Sunday morning and drag myself back to that. I'm so tired of sitting for an hour and being told how bad I am, being told how unworthy of I am, being told how much God is against me." And it's true, isn't it? If you feel unworthy in here, if you have that unworthiness and you live into that shame, real change in your life will never be possible. If you want real change, if you want to experience that fundamental change in your life, you have to find a new starting place, and it cannot be shame. And listen, y'all, here's why we don't do shame here at Free, and it can be captured in one ancient Hebrew word, and I want to teach this word to you tonight because I think you're going to find it absolutely fascinating. It's this word, teshuvah. Say it with me, teshuvah. Now this time when you say it, shout it out with your fist in the air. Teshuvah. Teshuvah literally means to turn, or more specifically, to return. Now here's the thing about teshuvah. Teshuvah begins with an affirmation of your fundamental goodness, that you bear the image of the divine, that before anything else is said about you, you're blessed. Before anything else is said about you, you belong. You see, Teshuvah, it's this idea that you're born on a path. You're born on your path. But then you can stray. You know what I mean? Teshuvah, it's that moment where you realize that you've wandered off the path. For those of you in recovery, think about some of the bottoms you hit in your addiction. The things you did, the chaos you created, the people that you actually hurt. Do you remember how far you wandered? You see, in Teshuvah, it's that moment we realize we need to return to the good path, the who you are path, the path you were created to be on. And this word Teshuvah, it is scattered throughout the scriptures in the Old Testament. You'll see it everywhere now that we pointed it out. You might remember the Israelites were always told, return, Teshuvah towards something good. Turn, remember your life with God. Don't continue down this path. Or as the psalmist says it very simply in Psalm 34, turn, Teshuvah from evil and do good. You see, Teshuvah, well, I love Teshuvah. It gives us a name for that experience of realizing you need to return to your true path. And here's why I love Teshuvah. Because it takes seriously your goodness, what we were created with, but it also takes seriously our capacity to stray, to create harm. That you and I have extraordinary power to make a great mess of things, don't we? And see, the starting point for Teshuvah is good. In fact, part of the root word of Teshuvah is the word tov, which literally means good. Do y'all remember Tov? We talked about it when we talked about Genesis, that early creation story in Genesis where it's a poem, and the poem has God creating in 6 days, and after each day the poet has God stepping back and saying, dang, this is Tov. This is good. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, humans are created. The poet has God stepping back and saying, nah, this ain't just Tov. You are supremely Tov. You are very good. You see, the story starts with that fundamental goodness of what you were created with. We start on a good path, but then we can stray to another path, can't we? We can create all kinds of harm. We can actually hurt people. And see, what I learned early in my recovery, when I actually started hanging out in the rooms of recovery and hanging out with people in recovery, the message always started the same. The message was, dude, you're good. You're good. You are worthy of recovery. You're worthy of a new kind of life. You have belonging here. We will create that space for you here. You are one of us. And I hated to hear that. You're one of us. No, I'm not one of you. You're one of us. We'll create that space for you here. You belong here. And, because see, there's a second part to the message, and you strayed. Not because you're a bad person, not because you're bad, but you strayed. You made a mess of things, but you can always come home. You see, Teshuvah frees us up to make things right. Teshuvah frees us up to know who we really are. And y'all get this. By the time we get to the New Testament, the time and life of Jesus, this word Teshuvah started being translated as repent or repentance. Jesus was always calling people to repent. And I get it. Some of you are like, no, we ain't going there. Don't talk about repent. And I get it. We have religious baggage with that, right? Some of us do. I do. Because it was used, that word was used to beat you up all the time. It was used to tell you how bad you are, how unworthy you are, how much God is against you. But when Jesus was talking about repentance, you have to remember he was Jewish. Jesus is firmly rooted in that ancient Hebrew tradition of teshuvah. So when Jesus was talking about repentance, he was saying, return to your path. Return. You are worthy of something good. It is time to return. Don't keep going down a path that's not yours. You were created for your path. You see, if it doesn't have the starting place of good, then return is just about shame, isn't it? And my brothers and sisters, be reminded, in the return, in Teshuvah, there will be some sorrow. And that's okay. It's okay. Think about when you got into recovery. Did you experience some sorrow? Some of you have worked the 12 steps. Remember doing that 4th step? Taking your inventory? And then you actually took the next step, which is a 5th step, and you got brutally honest with your sponsor or some trusted individual, and you were like laying it all out, and you actually had to use words to say it. And you're like, dang, I can't believe I actually did that. I can't believe I hurt them. I can't believe that's who I actually am. And that's okay. Yeah, there's grief. Let it happen. It's part of the process. But there's also a great deal of celebration, because then you also have that moment where it's like, thank you, God, for revealing to me just how far off the path I have wandered. And by the way, it's why we start with celebrations on a Saturday night. We start with the good. We start with the announcement of return, that good news is actually happening in our midst, and we get to be a part of it. Now, Teshuvah will always ask you the hardest questions you have to answer. Questions like, do you trust you are loved? No matter where you've been and what you've done, do you trust that you are loved? Do you trust that you belong? And do you trust that you are worthy of return, that you are worthy of returning to the good? So what I want to do with you for the next couple of minutes, I want to share with you a Teshuvah story. This is the Teshuvah story of all Teshuvah stories. It's a foundational story for us here at Free. It's one we revisit often, and it captures why we don't do shame. So there's a parable. A parable is just another name for a short story. It's a parable found in Luke's Gospel, chapter 15, and it's commonly referred to as the parable of the prodigal son. Now, Jesus often spoke in these short stories, these parables, and when he did, this is a parable that Jesus tells, when he did, he was always trying to get his hearers to see God in new ways. So this parable, this story, is about a father and his 2 sons. And tonight, for just the next couple of minutes, we're going to focus on the younger son, and we're going to save the older son for another time, but it's just as important. So the younger son says to his father, Pops, can I have my share of the inheritance? Which is actually really offensive, because it's just another way of saying, Pops, I wish you were dead so I could have the money. And the father says, sure, take it. It's yours. And so the son, the younger son, takes the money, and he goes off, he leaves home, he squanders the money, wastes the money on prostitutes and scandalous living, and some of y'all can already relate to this. And he wastes the money. He totally runs out of money. It gets so bad, the text tells us that he hires himself out on a field working with pigs. And you got to understand how big that is, because no good Jewish boy would be found working among pigs. He totally runs out of money. The text says that he's miserable. He's hungry. And he has this moment. He's like, what have I done? Like, I've burned all the bridges. I don't have anything left. I don't have any other couches to sleep on. My only option is to go back home. And so he starts to make a journey back home, but he does so with this assumption that once he gets there, the father is going to shame him, punish him, and only take him as a hired slave. By the way, if you're a bit fuzzy in the story, the father figure in this parable represents God. So the son says, I'll get up and go to my father and say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Take me on as one of your hired hands. So he got up and teshuvah, went to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with compassion. His father ran to him, hugged him, and kissed him. Then his son said, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, quickly, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Fetch the fattened calf and slaughter it. We must celebrate with feasting because this son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and now is found. He teshuvah, and they began to celebrate. Fascinating, isn't it? Because the son was so certain that when he got home, he was going to receive shame and punishment and slavery. And imagine you're the father. Every night, this father goes to bed filled with tears, filled with anxiety. My boy's left home and he's off wandering. Is he okay? And some of y'all don't have to imagine very far, do you? Because you're there right now. Imagine every morning this father goes downstairs to the kitchen before he even grabs his first cup of coffee, and he looks out the window to see maybe my boy is coming home today. He's hoping for some sort of miracle. And on this morning, that miracle actually happens. He looks out the window and he sees his boy at the end of the driveway. What's the story say? He's angry, so he grabs a baseball bat. He's going to teach his son a lesson and get the money back. Now, that ain't what he does. Now, what's it say? He was filled with disappointment, so he flung the door open and he pointed at his son and said, "You loser. Look at you, man. How could I have ever produced something like you?" Now, that ain't what he does. What's the text say? He saw him and was filled with compassion. He hugs him. He kisses him. He starts yelling to everyone around him, "Quick, go get the best clothes. Go grab the Jordans. Grab the best shoes. We need to throw a party." Now, if you really wanted to throw a badass party in the first century Jewish world of Jesus, you would slaughter the fattened calf. I mean, this was like the finest of meals. And that's exactly what the Father does. Why? Teshuvah. My boy was wandering from the path, but he's home now. And because of that, we are going to celebrate. You see, y'all, isn't this our story? I mean, doesn't this capture who we are? You wandered off the path. Addiction, or being addicted to the addict in your life, it brought you to places you thought you would never be. You wasted your time, your money, your talents, your gifts, and things got so bad. They were bad enough, you were miserable enough, you were desperate. But even in the midst of that desperation, did you catch yourself going to those old narratives of, man, I'm not good, I'm bad, and I'm not worthy of any sort of return. And if you knew where I was and you knew the things I did, you would know that I wasn't worthy of anything good, returning to anything good. I can't return to that. Oh, but things were bad enough. And somewhere along the way, you found recovery. You teshuvah, and God was heard shouting, "You're home. You're home. And it's time to celebrate." And you're like, "Who, me? God, do you know where I've been?" And God's like, "Yes, I know you wandered off the path. I know the things you've done. I know where you've been. And you're home now, and it's time to celebrate. Do you know every night I went to bed with tears? Do you know every morning I looked out the window? I waited for you, and I never stopped loving you, even when you were wandering." No shame, just extravagant love and compassion. You see, here's what I know. You are always invited to return to your true path, to return home, teshuvah. And shame never causes teshuvah, because only love can do that. And when you find yourself saying, "Man, this gift, this experience, I just don't deserve it. If you know what I've done and know where I've been, I just don't deserve it. To which I respond, of course you don't deserve it. Because how could teshuva ever be put into categories of deserving? It's grace, and grace is always a gift. If you have to do something to earn it, it's not grace, it's something else. If you have to earn it, it's a transaction, and God is not into your transactions. We have a relational God, not a transactional God. So see, if you're still off wandering from the path, yeah, I did it too. And you don't have to. You don't have to live that way. You don't have to do that. You are worthy of return, worthy of teshuva. You can actually come home, and I promise you there's an incredible celebration waiting upon your arrival. So shout it with me, all 4 words. We don't do shame. God doesn't do shame. Teshuva, because you are good and worthy of return. Chris and Hallie have written a song, and they're going to play that for us now.
Willpower, dark hour, sick and tired of you. Dear God, how did I get here? What am I gonna do? Falling, 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 just trying to avoid the floor. Tried so hard to stop myself, but all I want
How
is
you doing?
more.
Good to see you.
One foot in front of the other.
I think it's good, Ezra.
Let go or be dragged along. Though we don't understand it, we're learning to trust that faith is the cure and love makes us stronger. Dawn breaking, heart aching, can't do this again. They say I'm not alone now, just for today we can. Darkness starts to fade away a little better than before. Some blink blindly toward the light to find an open door. One foot in front of the other. Let go or be dragged along. Though we don't understand it, we're learning to trust that faith is the cure and love makes us stronger.
Shame does no good for
anyone.
They can't erase except those things that we cannot change. Change those things
we can. One foot in front of the other. Let go or be dragged along. Though we don't understand it, we're learning to trust that faith is the cure. Love makes us stronger. Oh, oh, oh.
Thank you, Chris and Hallie. Man, we have some gifts in this community, and y'all just displayed that. Thank you for writing that beautiful song. Man, it's so good to have you all here. Thank you. All right, y'all. Each and every week, if you're new with us, you should know that each and every week we have a guest storyteller to join me up in the living room to share some of their story around the topic at hand. And tonight, I can't wait for y'all to meet my friend Montee Ball. Montee is a former Wisconsin star running back for the Wisconsin Badgers, then was drafted into the NFL by the Denver Broncos, where he was a running back. And yeah, then addiction started to enter the picture. And Montee, as he'll tell you, he did some wandering from the true path, but he's been sober now since 2016, was it? Since 2016. Teshuva! Yes, help me welcome Montee Ball. Hey, glad you're here. It's on. And then you're going to be on the screen in just a moment.
All right. I've never been on the screen before.
Look at our Rico smile.
Oh, who's that guy?
Good looking guy, isn't it?
Oh, no.
All right, Montee. So I didn't give away too much of your story, but you know, this is worth saying. First, thank you for being here. When Montee is part of this community, and when I asked Montee, I said, man, I just want to be cautious and aware that your life is not just football, and you'll get into that. But should we talk about that? Should we mention that? And he said, yeah, it's part of my story. This is an integral part of my story and addiction. And so I have the freedom to talk about your past in football and to ask you questions around that. But I think what we want to hear now is, when did you start wandering from your path? And I know in high school you were the good kid, star football player. By the way, Montee and I grew up in the same hometown, Wentzville, Missouri.
That's right.
We didn't get a big applause for that.
We didn't. I
It's
don't know
like
how to
people
get
don't
it.
know what Wentzville is. Come on, W-Town.
That's right.
You signed with the Badgers, had an incredible career there in Wisconsin, but you told me with success came bigger parties, bigger ego. Tell us about it, man.
Absolutely. I think you pretty much nailed it. So when I was in high school, I was pretty much on the straight and narrow. There's only about 10 to 12 times where I strayed off, right? Where that FOMO got me. Being a teenager, lying to my parents, telling them I'm going here, but I'm really going to my friend's house to party. But I still wanted to make sure that I stayed on track because I wanted to get to the NFL, which the next step was college, and to make sure I kept my grades up and just stayed present in my family's life and also with school and true to my passion. But once I got to college, once I really started to excel on the football field, that is when I really started to lose myself. That's when I started to wonder. That's when I started to really stray away from my family. I stopped praying. I really thought that I had all the answers, and obviously in hindsight, I know that that's never the case, of course. And so I really lost track of myself during that time. Due to the success, the lights, feeling as if I was always in a fishbowl. So one thing about me that a lot of people don't know is social anxiety. I struggle with significantly. Still to this day, I do. But I always want to make sure that I put myself in tough situations to continuously grow and develop. But that is what I struggled with in college, the constant life in the fishbowl of, look at what he's wearing, look at where he's going, look at what he's doing, look at who he's hanging out around. Can I get a photo? Can I get an autograph? There were times when I was in class and I would have my hood up in the back of the classroom, and I never really cared to raise my hand because I just didn't want anyone to know that I was in there.
Yeah. And so what did the booze do for you? I mean, so with this kind of celebrity status came some perks.
Of course.
I'm sure when walking into a bar, walking into a party, you get acknowledged, you get noticed. So what did the booze do for you?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I can understand how folks, it can be a little difficult to understand how it can be challenging to always be the center of attention in a sense, right? Because there are perks that come with it, but with those perks come bad people, that come around you that act like they're your friend, but they're really not. Come more parties, come a lot more life pitfalls. So for me, the alcohol really allowed for me to become vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? I was always closed off. And so I was always the person that would always show up to the bar and I would always have to consume X amount of shots immediately just so that I can be myself. I thought that I was being myself when I was under the influence, but obviously I wasn't. But for me, that was an opportunity for me to tell my guy friends I love you, tell them like thank you for not always talking about football with me. You know, there's some other things that I love to do, and also just struggling with living this double life of being a poster child for a big school, right? Being the poster child, my face was on the campus bus, but also still just wanting to be a college student, right?
Yeah.
Still just wanting to experience what it's like to just live and be.
So was addiction for you, was it in full throttle in college? By the end of college, was it like fully going?
It really became full throttle my junior year. So in 2011, we were fortunate enough, of course, to land Russell Wilson, was our quarterback in college. And so we really played well on the football field. We were third in the country, won the conference. I was a Heisman finalist that year as well. But I actually struggled the most off the field, and no one knows that. Every single time that I got in front of the cameras and did post-game interviews, I wanted to make sure that I put a smile on my face, right? To put the mask on just so that my family would believe that I'm doing okay. Because a lot of people don't know this. So my family moved from Winsfield, Missouri up to Madison, Wisconsin my freshman year. So outside of the societal pressures that I was experiencing, I also had that familiar pressure as well. They didn't do it intentionally, but once they made that decision to move up to Wisconsin, I then had no other choice but to succeed. I had no other option. That is what I felt.
And having your life under that constant scrutiny, people watching you all the time, I mean, that takes a toll, right?
It does, because there are times when you just want to go to the grocery store, right, with your hood up and just want to go in, get out. But Madison, Wisconsin being such a small college town, right, everyone knows you. Everyone's after you in a way, whether it's to get something from you or to just be around you just to tell their friends and stuff like that. And I get it. I always tell people, I understand how it can be difficult to digest this, but it's a lifestyle that if you don't prepare for it, if you don't have a plan for who you're going to lean on, it's going to get to you. And for me, I strayed away from God entirely.
Okay, so you finished your football career at Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and then it was April 26, 2013, you get the call from John Elway saying, Montee, you want to be a Bronco?
Yeah.
You're young, a kid. How old were you?
I was 22.
So let's sign Montee to a NFL contract and give him a bunch of money and tell us what happened.
Exactly.
Sorry, I don't make light of it. I just mean
no.
You were thrown into it at a young age, as athletes are.
Of course, and it was always the plan. And it's funny now. I have on my left arm God's, and this one God's plan. When I got that tatted when I was in high school, I really didn't mean too much to me as it does now. But for me, I grew up a Broncos fan in Winsfield, Missouri. My room was blue and orange all throughout elementary school and high school. Still have all the memorabilia from when I was this young. And I told my dad when I was 8 years old that I want to be a running back for the Denver Broncos. And so we developed a plan when I was 13 that if I was going to go on and continue to excel, they were going to move and make sure they support me. So come draft day, April 26, 2013, everyone's having a good time behind me, and I had my phone propped up, super nervous, and the 303 number comes in. And I jumped up. I started crying because I just knew, right, Denver, Colorado. I started hitting my dad. He started crying. My mom's a wreck, running around. Just I don't even know what she was doing. But of course, everything came to fruition, right? My dream, my passion, it happened. God's plan happened. My path, I was on it. But I never addressed my addiction.
So you're there, the parties get bigger, the lights get brighter. Can you take us to the night? And I realize there's a ton to your story, but can you take us to the night you were arrested?
Yeah, of course. It's always you may think it's tough to talk about, but I'm no longer embarrassed about it or ashamed. None of that, because it's part of my story.
Yeah.
But for me, of course, obviously, I played for the Denver Broncos my rookie year. Went to the Super Bowl. We lost against Seattle. And then had the opportunity to continuously play the next year, but got injured, right? And placed on injured reserve, which allowed for me to have more time to drink. All right, I'm just showing up to the practice facility for 2 hours just to work out and then go home. So once I got released from the Denver Broncos, it was my first fall ever without shoulder pads on. So I was drinking even more. Didn't answer the phone call from the Bears or the Jets. But then my agent spoke with Bill Belichick, and I had the opportunity to go to the Patriots for a little bit. Met my partner at the time when I was back in Wisconsin before I went to Massachusetts, and we both were just partying and having a good time. Fast forward, of course, the Patriots beat the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game, which just made me so much more upset, right? My ego was already inflated, right? I just got released from my team. I need to prove to people that I'm still this macho guy. I'm still this great athlete. I'm still the life of the party. And so when that moment happened, I took it out on someone really close to me, of course. And I remember the night, and I'll never forget it. She was yelling at me that I'm taking alcohol too seriously, like it's the most important thing to me, and that's, of course, what I didn't want to hear. And so I reacted, and rightfully so. I was arrested and spent the weekend in jail and watched the Broncos beat the Panthers in Super Bowl 50 while I was in jail.
From a jail cell.
Yes.
And you told me when we were meeting that there was 2 inmates with you that night, and one of them said, "Montee, you should be up there on the screen," and you turned around and you cried.
Of course. This time in my life, I was blaming everybody else, right? I was blaming my dad, because he's in recovery himself. So I had that, like why did I come from you type of hatred towards him. And then my friends, why weren't you there for me to tell me? Just blaming everybody else instead of taking responsibility. So when that moment happened, yes, there were 2 inmates that were looking at me and said, "You're supposed to be up there hoisting that trophy. That's supposed to be you. You're supposed to be a role model for our youth." And of course, I was like the pot calling the kettle black. We're literally in the same spot right now. But he was right. I've had way more opportunities than I know a lot of other folks, and I should have addressed some things earlier on when I didn't. But yes, I turned around, faced the wall, and of course, with toxic masculinity, I didn't want to show them that I'm crying.
Yeah. And dude, I can't tell you how grateful I am that you're here sharing this story, because our mission here is breaking the silence of addiction. And for you to be a professional athlete who's had the stage and to be able to say, no, addiction brought me to a place where I was arrested and watched the Super Bowl, my team, which I could have been on, winning the Super Bowl from a jail cell. Thank you for just your bravery to share this story. And I know you said you don't have shame with it anymore. And we're just grateful for that, dude.
Thank you.
But I want people to hear the teshuva, the turn. When did you? So you get out of jail and you went on a different path.
Yeah.
You didn't stay on that path. You started this process of return, and what's that been like?
It's been absolutely wonderful. For me, it was always a process of once I got out of jail, it was, you know what? I'm always in control of my actions. So I've always taken responsibility from that moment moving forward, never blamed anyone else. And I don't even blame alcohol. I don't. And so my path started this newer path, I guess, right? Or back on the original path with IOP. So I hopped into intensive outpatient treatment right there in Madison, Wisconsin, right behind Camp Randall Stadium, and never turned back. Never looked back at the bottle and kept moving forward. And that's always my message to folks when I talk. It's the will to act is so important. That will to act is so important.
And what was it the thinking for you? I'm going to do this IOP and then I'm going to get back to an NFL career, or I'm going to get back to something. How'd you what was that process like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I still see my therapist to this day. Now it's just once a month, but met him in 2016 when I was in IOP. And he noticed that I was struggling. You know, I had one foot in the NFL door and one foot out, trying to decide on what I want to do. And he told me, obviously, it's up to you. You have to make that decision. So I had the opportunity to go back to the NFL. Roger Goodell called my agent and said if he does come back, he is going to be on a 4 to 5 game suspension. And I told him no, I don't want to go back. That lifestyle, some can handle it, but I can't.
And how, what was that hard at all, or was that just so
Of course.
clear to you at the time? It's like, no, this is it.
It was very difficult. So that conversation happened in 2017. Very challenging because that's all I knew. The game of football is all I knew. So once the Broncos released me, I panicked. Where else do I fit in? What else do I know? What other skills do I have?
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, I was kind of institutionalized in this sport. And then once it came to an end, which NFL stands for not for long, I had no plan.
Tweet.
I had no plan. And so I knew that I did not want to go back into the NFL because, again, some folks can handle it, but that's just not a lifestyle for me that doesn't mesh well with my mentality. I had an ego that I don't ever want to get again. And I don't ever want to become that person again. So I don't want to go back to it.
So, Montee, you said something to me so profound the other day, and I went home and I told Tammy, I said, I'm so glad he said this, because I know for some people when we get in recovery, there's this thinking of, man, I wasted time, wasted life, wasted money, so now I'm going to do the big thing. And when I asked you, Montee, what are you doing now? And I'm not saying you're not doing anything. You're doing some very important work in the world. But when I asked you what you're up to, do you remember what you told me?
I know exactly what I said.
Tell them what you told me.
It's taken me so long to really figure it out, because for so long in my life, I've wanted to do something big. I want to be the center of attention. I want to create something massive. And as of right now, I think it's just so good just to be. Just to be. I know that if I continuously show up and keep opening that door, the more that I open up that door and inviting God into my life, I don't know what God is, who God is, but what I do know is that the more that door creaks open, the better I feel.
Yeah.
The more secure in myself that I feel, because I was obviously insecure.
And you get to be a dad today.
And I get to be a dad.
How old's your son?
My son.
6 years old, right? 6-year-old little Maverick.
Yeah. So my son, Maverick is his name, and how he came about, which when it happened, I was upset. But once I got out of jail, an amazing woman here from Colorado contacted me and told me that she was 8 months pregnant. And of course I was mad. But in hindsight, it happened at the most perfect time. And so my son will be 7 this year, and I am 7 years in recovery.
That's the good stuff right there. Montee, I often ask our guest storytellers, for anyone here in our space or anyone watching online from their living room, if you were to give a word of hope to the one who's still out there wandering from the true path, who's out there saying, man, I can't, too much shame, I've got too much to lose, you don't understand. What would you say to them?
Absolutely. For me, I know those lonely nights. I know how it feels when you're judging yourself and when you are wishing that your life was in a better position. And to me, what I always tell myself is you have to act, because no one's going to do it for you. Just continuously keep opening that door towards your faith, your God, your higher power, whatever that may be, but act. Do something, because no one's going to do it for you.
Montee Ball, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, brother, for being here with us tonight, man. So grateful for you, dude. Montee, are you able to stick around a few minutes afterwards? All right, if people want to ask you questions. Cool. Thank you, Montee. So grateful. Hey, y'all, the way we... and by the way, I just noticed that every week, isn't it incredible? We have guest storytellers every week that can help break the silence of addiction and share their story. I just love it that this community is about that. So that's not lost on me. I hope it's not lost on you. The way we end here on Saturday night is the same way we begin. We begin with celebrations, but we end with the heartaches. Because what we know is you were not created to carry those heartaches alone, those burdens. You suck at carrying those alone. And we have a God who always hears the cries of the people. So if you need prayer, lifting up, encouragement along the way, we do this together as a community, and it's a very important part of our evening together. So we take 3 minutes for this. Matt and Darren have the mics, so pass them around. If you're online, again, put them in the YouTube comments, the Facebook comments, and we'll join with you there. But let's take 3 minutes.
I'm Tisha. I'm an alcoholic. I'm asking for prayers for my sister Tyrene, who just got diagnosed with cervical cancer.
All right, Tisha, prayers for your sister.
Hi, my name is Shamia, and I want to lift up my friend Nina. I'm really praying that she finds her a job.
All right, prayers for your friend.
My name is Brian. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic, and I want to lift up prayers for my cousin Christopher, he's caught up in his addiction right now. He's out there.
All right, lifting up Christopher. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I'm praying for my grandma who just lost her son to a seizure and an overdose.
Lifting them and the family up.
Hi, my name's Lexi, loved one of an addict. I'm asking for prayers for my fiance Wyatt as he's finishing up his jail sentence for his second DUI he got last summer. However, it is also sort of celebration because of these DUIs. We were able to build a new life, get engaged, and he will be 8 months sober when he's out on Monday. So a little bit of both.
Teshuva comes with some celebration and a little bit of sorrow. Thinking about you, Wyatt. Prayers for you, brother.
Hi, my name's Buddy. I'm just asking that the community lift up my Uncle Paul, who just got a cancer diagnosis.
All right, prayers for Uncle Paul.
My name's Red. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I got a friend struggling with addiction right now. He's in and out and not really sure which way to go. So prayers for him.
All right, Red. Glad you're here, man. Lifting up your friend.
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm an alcoholic, and I am just asking for prayers that I know what God's will is for me in making a decision whether or not to quit my job.
All right, Erica, lifting you up. Prayers for the big decision.
Hi, my name is Danita, and I need prayer. I have stage 4 breast cancer. Praying that my family and my kids get through it.
Lifting you and your family up. I'm glad you're here again this week.
Hey, I'm Dara. Ellie, baby Ellie, Paige's little girl, they're at the emergency room tonight, so she reached out and asked if we would pray for her. She's having an asthma attack.
All right, y'all know Paige and Max. They're us. They're one of us. They're community members here. So prayers for their little baby Ellie tonight. Lifting y'all up if you're watching.
My name is Bobby, and I put myself in the Denver Rescue Mission, and I'm a good person, man. Like, I'm 48 days clean and sober. I have a bunch of friends that are addicts, and I haven't got to talk to them, haven't anything, but maybe they can see what I saw.
Yeah, lifting him up. Glad you're here, Bobby. Are we out of time? Are you doing one more? Let's do one more in the back before Darren joins me.
Hey, I'm Kit. I'm just asking for prayers for my father who's struggling with alcoholism. I really care about him and I just want him to get better.
Yeah, praying for your dad. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, D-Dog, you joining me up here, dude?
Absolutely.
Darren Valdez, ladies and gentlemen, the Executive Director of Colorado Artist in Recovery. Sorry, man, I shouldn't have said that. You're just one of us.
Yeah.
Will you help me heartache with our online folks?
Absolutely.
Okay, you take the first one.
Okay. Montee Voss, please prayers for a 31-year-old new mom who has cancer discovered at her daughter's birth a month ago. Prayers going out to you, Montee.
Yeah, continuing to lift her up. You've mentioned her a few times, and we're praying for her. Roy says, I've been dealing with a lingering cough for a couple of months after being sick. Wednesday, I was having shortness of breath. Went into doctor after x-rays, verified pneumonia. Prayers, please. Roy, lifting you up, my brother. Prayers for you. Healing coming your way.
Stephanie, still praying for Brian to see the path again. We're praying for you, Stephanie, and for Brian.
Yeah, lifting up Brian. Stephen says, please pray for Monique N. Her 32-year-old partner was diagnosed with liver cancer. They have 3 children, a hard road ahead. Stephen, we're lifting up Monique this evening. Thank you for being here and sharing that with us tonight.
Frank Forte. 3rd week here. Thank you. I need prayer to stay strong for my alcohol and other addictions. Frank, you are amongst friends. That's what we're here for. We're glad to have you.
Keep reaching out, Frank. I hope you have good people in your life you're contacting along the way and staying in touch with. Darren, do you want to mention about the art, though? So y'all may have noticed we have art hanging in the wall in the cafe, right when you walk into the left. Did you want to say a word about that?
Yeah, we want to highlight artists in your journey. If you are an artist and you have a couple pieces that you would like to display, if it has to do with your journey, something about addiction, or if you just want to have something really beautiful that you put up, we want to put that up. We're going to rotate the artwork that's out there. Don't necessarily have to be in recovery, but it's kind of the theme of the art, to give people hope. The only thing we ask is you can either drop it off to me or to the cafe. There's a little information you have to fill out. If you do sell the piece, we ask that you make a donation to Free for at least 20%, but hopefully more, to help support the mission of Free. So if you have questions about that, please see me afterwards, and we'll talk.
Thank you, Darren Valdez. Thanks for joining me up here, and thanks for leading that artistic wall outside. It's very cool. All right, y'all, I tell you every week, we have a giving portion of our service, because one of the things we know here, and I tell you each week, is your generous giving in this community helps the mission of breaking the silence of addiction. It's what helps us keep thriving in the community. And truly, I tell you, without your giving, Free doesn't exist. So thank you all. For those of you that have made that part of your weekly or monthly budget. I know it's a sacrifice. I know for many of you it's a spiritual practice, and it's the moment where you realize it's all a gift anyway. And so thank you for being a part of that. If you feel called to give here at Free, we would be very grateful. And there's 2 giving boxes. There's one here, and there's one outside these doors. We invite you to tap it on the way out. Or you can give online. There's 3 ways. You can download the app. The app is free spiritual community, and you can give there once a week or monthly or one time, however you want to do it. If you don't do the app, you can go straight to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com/give, and you can give there. Same deal, safe, secure way, or text the number on your screen. It'll walk you through a simple set of instructions, and you can give there. And we are truly very grateful to you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, y'all, shall we go out with a prayer? I invite you to just take a moment, take a big, deep breath in, and then exhale. And open your hands if you want. It's a sign of openness to say you're open to the things of God, Spirit moving along the way, Spirit calling you to Teshuvah perhaps. And let's go out with the Serenity Prayer. If you don't know it, it will be on your screen. And it starts, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. And my free brothers and sisters, may you remember to Teshuvah, because you are good and worthy of return, and we will see you next week.